I am Dr. Boyce Watkins, and you know me from Your Black World, AOL Black Voices, and thegrio.com, and a few other places. And I'm here with my very good friend, the amazing, the incredibly talented Miss Lola Adesioye. How are you today, Lola?
I'm very well, thanks, Boyce. And yourself?
I'm fine. And excuse me, and you have to forgive me, I didn't mention your websites. People can see your stuff at lolacreative.com, also the Huffington Post, the UK Guardian, and the Economist. And also, actually, you are with AOL Black Voices now, so you're kind of everywhere too. Except you're more everywhere than I am, which is pretty neat. I didn't know that was possible, but yeah, you're doing it all. So I want to ask
about you.
Oh, yeah, right. You don't want to be like me. That'll get you in trouble. But I wanted to ask you, you called me this morning, and you were telling me about something that happened in a school in Georgia. It's Georgia, right? Can you tell the story? Or
yeah. Basically, the story that's sort of picking up speed online is that there was a teacher in Georgia, in Lumpkin County, who basically has been placed on administrative leave yesterday after she allowed 4 students to wear Ku Klux Klan outfits in a historical reenactment in school. Her students were filming reenactments of various historical periods, and 4 of them put on these KKK outfits, and there were, a number of complaints about that. Some of the students in the class, the African-American students, were upset, and their parents were upset, and basically she's been placed on leave. So she was said to say, this project was about racism in U.S. history, not just racism against African-Americans, but racism as a whole, and that you can't discuss racism without discussing the Klan. And she said she admits that she made a mistake by letting the students film the Klan reenactment on campus. And she said she feels bad that there were students who felt threatened by that. She's actually an award-winning teacher as well. And basically, she could potentially lose her job. So, there are various views, some people are saying, okay, so, reenactments, are we going to reenact the Holocaust, do we reenact lynchings? How far do you go with these reenactments, There's a way of talking about history without actually having to, play the thing out. And, KKK and everything that they do and did was very scary, and I think that for any young person to have to see that on a school campus, I can totally see why that's frightening. And she could have shown pictures, perhaps, or read things out of books. I don't know if actually getting kids to put on robes and pretend to be KKK is that valuable. So that's my view on it.
Huh. Well, I when I heard about this incident, one of the first things I thought about is that sometimes we have a trigger that automatically goes off whenever anybody says or does anything that involves something like the KKK or the N-word or certain things that we're just, almost from a Pavlovian standpoint, just sort of wired to respond to. And it wasn't that I didn't believe that what the woman did was offensive. It's that, my first thought was, well, why did she do this and what was her point? And I think that especially if she's an award-winning teacher, and she claims she was trying to teach the kids about racism, I'd like to know what she was trying to do. And it's not to say that I would advise her to try it again. No, but because sometimes there are some things our society is simply not ready to tolerate or absorb. You have to find a different way to do it. But I think for us to automatically presume that she was trying to be racist by doing this, I think that would be ultimately incorrect. But then again, I don't know the woman. But then again, I think that
I don't think she was trying to be racist at all. I think she was trying to sort of make a historical point, and I think it just kind of went the wrong way.
Yeah, I think it may be tasteless. I think that's what she can be accused of is
right.
Of having, a poor judgment and just doing something that people really can't stomach. I'm not going to teach my daughter about rape by allowing someone to pretend to rape her. That's just not, or just say, hey, honey, this is what it would be like to be raped. No, that's not that would be highly inappropriate. And I think in this case it's the same way. I think that when you talk about the experience of African Americans, and it's interesting how you can say on the surface that there is no racism here, but you can almost link it back to racism in the sense that the point that you made earlier, where you said that people would probably have a very different reaction if we reenacted the Holocaust, right? But I think that when you talk about African Americans, sometimes people have a greater tolerance for really offensive behavior when it comes to African Americans. Things like, let's reenact a lynching, or let's reenact a Klan, or let me show you a picture of black people being lynched, or let's make a joke about slavery. And I think that those sorts of actions that are much more acceptable than they would be if they were, say, targeted toward the Jewish community, I think is to some extent a reflection of the fact that the humanity of black people is not respected in the same way as the humanity of some other cultures. And I think that the most extreme example we can think of are black people in Africa. I think that we can make a joke about starvation in Ethiopia. We can show on the news, they can say, well, 10,000 people died in the Congo region last year because of the wars or whatever the case may be. And I think that people don't react nearly as strongly as they would if, say, 100 Americans died. And I think that that's the extreme case. But I think even in the United States, there's a more subtle distinction made between whites and blacks here that just says, okay, I'm going to make the little black kids dress up like Klansmen, and I'm not going to really even consider the emotional damage to these kids. Or like the one teacher, I can't remember if the teacher was in North Carolina, I think it was North Carolina, who wanted the kids to know what slavery was like. So they went on a field trip. He had the black kids picking cotton and the white kids pretending to be their slave masters, which was absolutely positively sick. And what was even sicker about it was I believe that the teacher was black. That's so I think that sort of thing leads to a broader discussion. I don't think the woman should be fired, though. I think she should be allowed and expected to explain her behavior, though.
Yeah, and I think if she is actually an excellent teacher, which apparently she is, I don't think that it's worth taking good teachers out of schools over what. I mean, essentially, this might just be like a sort of media storm in a teacup kind of thing, So I don't think it's worth taking a great teacher out of the school over that. And I think if she can explain it, which she actually has done and said she feels bad and she didn't really, expect it to turn into such a big deal, then it's not worth it. I think she should maintain, keep her job and just be a bit more sensitive.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we both, if we were going to write a letter to the school board, our letter would say, don't fire her, but kick her in the ass and let her know that this is not something that we want done to our children. And I don't feel that this was appropriate, but let the lady keep her job. So, well. As usual, it's a pleasure speaking to you, Lola, and I just enjoy our little casual conversations. I think that it's an opportunity for us to explore important issues, and so we're going to continue to do this. On a regular basis. And until then, check Lola out at lolacreative.com, also at the Huffington Post and the UK Guardian and The Economist. And you can check me out at AOL Black Voices, thegrio.com, and Your Black World. And also, I happen to teach at Syracuse University, which might matter to some of us. So you guys take care, and until then, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Boyce.